Me.
Welcome to Bonehead
Just
Weekly.
getting my vocal cords ready. Oh shit, you're recording.
And
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes. So,
Hello.
one of
Hold
you
on.
two-
Hey, Joe, should I start with my James impression?
Sure.
I thought you were always doing one.
Oh, this is Bonehead Weekly. I'm James Thomas.
Oh my God! I didn't know I sounded like that.
Can I just say,
Go.
Edgar Allan Poe is fantastic.
I don't know that
mind-
anybody's going to be able to make that out later.
I don't care.
In my mind,
It
I
sounds
sound like
racist.
Cary Grant, and then I listen to myself replayed, and I sound like somebody taking a hacksaw to a cat's head.
No,
my dear Franklin, I don't give a damn.
you don't sound like that, but you're
I keep
right.
forgetting-
You don't,
I keep forgetting that voice scares the dog that's sitting behind me.
do not sound like Cary Grant.
No, I don't. I mean, literally. But you always think you sound better than you do on recordings, right? Like I never. I know I don't actually have a great voice or anything, but normally I'm like, well, I
Make
I
up
could-
with it with your face.
All right, thanks. I've been working out my nose. I'm trying to get that
It
bewitched.
shows. It shows.
Oh,
It's gotten,
James.
It's gotten
I'm
bigger.
trying to do that bewitched thing.
James, your voice has the soothing sounds of a porcupine fucking a sewing machine. Go ahead.
Overlook him.
What
He's
would
been
that-
drinking since
what would-
8 o'clock.
What would that sound like?
He was going around the room earlier telling everybody how they disappointed him. All that was
Yeah.
there was Bendy the dog.
Oh, Bendy, I love you.
So who is going to start with a revelation? You all said you had a revelation.
Oh, no. So mine,
Yeah.
and I can't believe I'm admitting this. Kind of like a race. I don't know if it's because of the fact that I'm aged or what, but kind of like a Eraserhead now, guys.
Well, when did you rewatch it?
Yes, 2 days ago.
Why?
Actually, he's watching it right now.
Because I hadn't watched it in so if you're a listener of ours for a long time, I do not care for David Lynch. Other than a couple of movies, do not care for David Lynch. I don't understand the majority of his work. And Eraserhead is at the top of that list. I have never ever liked it. Now, granted, I have not seen Eraserhead in over 20 years because I just fucking hated it.
Such
but
a beautiful movie, though.
It started streaming on HBO Max, and I'm like, maybe I should give it a shot again, just because I'm like, there are plenty of things I didn't like when I was a kid or younger that I do like now. So I'm like, I'll watch Eraserhead again. And damn it if I didn't find it interesting.
It's funny because have you ever seen Mel Brooks talk about it? Because he had to watch it before he saw Elephant Man. He goes, yeah, no, I totally got it. It's a guy dealing with the fact he's got a kid.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Real quick, by the way,
because you have a kid now? I said that to lead to my question. Do you think it's because you have children now?
I don't think so. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I just
tell us about your mother.
Well,
when you're done, would you like me to tell you about your mother?
When I saw it on a grainy VHS tape, and now I have 4K ultra high def, and there is a lot of clarity on that. And knowing how that movie was shot, damn, that movie's beautiful.
No, it's beautiful. That's I said it earlier. It's like it's a beautiful. Whether you like
Hold on, let me quote Joe. Let me quote Joe. It's the experience.
Real quick, by the way,
I'm a fuck ass. I don't know what a fuck ass is.
What?
I just want to say, for the record, by the way, you were going to say, let Chad tell you about his mother, and then you were going to tell about your mother. Yeah. And I was going to tell you about how
oddly enough, it also falls under fuck ass.
I was going to tell you how I met your mother.
James, did Joe just say thunder fuck ass?
Oh my God!
If it's your mom, it definitely does.
All I can say is all I can say is if you're around a thunder fuck ass, don't light a match.
That's true.
Thunder only happens when it's raining.
Anyway, what were you going to say?
Players only love you when they're playing.
This is another rated R episode. So, what were you going to say about your revelations, James? About
actually, I had one follow up to Chad's because actually, this is a question that I've been thinking about. When do you rewatch a movie and give it another chance? Because we don't do that for all bad movies. Like, there's a bunch of movies that other people say, no, watch it again, you'll like it. Where I go, no.
Man, I don't know. Mine varies. Like, if I hated a movie like a year ago, I'll go back and rewatch it now. but now with streaming and the fact that the kinds of archived films, I will go back and watch something that I absolutely appalled years ago just to see if I still hold up. Majority of the time, it does, yeah. But Eraserhead was one of those ones where I'm just like, I enjoy this film, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel now. It's like I thought it might be old age, but I don't know. But
I just wonder because
a lot of the times back when we were younger, to our younger people who we don't have any young listeners, before, we had VHS stores. We had VHS stores. We would go rent a VHS, or a friend would loan us a VHS, and then we would watch it, and then we'd have to return it, and then usually that would be the end of it.
Yeah. Well, no, you said, who do we have that's a young viewer? You'd be amazed how many people use this as a daycare. They're terrible parents, but they just put. I wish
the infants got to click their own account so we get more views rather than just showing it to all 35 infants in that one room with the TV.
Yeah.
Oh, and hey, speaking of segues,
I noticed when I picked up my kid last week, he kept screaming about how Eraserhead was revolutionary. Why did he start doing it? We don't know.
I get what Chad's saying. The issue I have back to children is I don't know where anyone has time to revisit things.
Yeah,
I'm so much out there. I'm so behind on what shit I've missed the last 3 years. And it is still coming off the rails at a record speed of everybody's got a streaming service, and most of them have at least one good show, if not a couple of good movies. It's damned hard. I spent another hour here the other day going through all the apps.
Yeah, I get
different movies.
I have about an hour and a half a day where I can pick something. If I'm lucky, most of the time it's 30 minutes.
Well, that's all I have.
45 to an hour, and I just have to pick something. And Eraserhead was there, and I'm just like, I've got to do it. And I'll be honest with you, when I first turned it on a week ago, I got right through the first 2 minutes of it's just the vertical shot of him and his mouth open and the earth going in and out of it. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. Click.
I want to say, by the way, here's what I've started to do. I've started to become, I think the way we were raised, quite frankly, in that I think I made the mistake of thinking I gave my children choice. That was my mistake. Because my parents never did that, right? It was never, I want to watch SpongeBob. No, you ain't watching SpongeBob. They're showing this Clint Eastwood movie for the 14th time, and I got to see if anything changed. And what I say by that, like literally today, I hadn't got to see the spoiler. The new Star Trek Discovery season started, and I was going to watch it the day it came out, and something ruined that for me. So I watched it today.
Kid needed a hug, James.
Yeah, something like that. I watched it today, and literally Silas was sitting there. Can we watch? I'm like, no. Once again, Daddy said Daddy's watching Star Trek. Now you can leave the room, or you can sit down. And he watched it, and the only thing I had to cut him off for, he was like, well, why did they do that? I'm like, well, son, if you would have watched the previous seasons, like I told you should have, you would have been caught up. But no, let me watch it, and then I'll introduce you to everything on the way back. And by the way, he was like, oh, that's really cool. I should have watched those other ones. I'm like, yeah, you should have. And that being said, and that's what I've started to do. It's like, okay, no. At best, we've learned to rotate the TV. Now, I know I can't watch TVMA. Like, I can't watch The Boys. Though Silas keeps telling me it's okay if I do. My son is literally, he's like, no, Dad, go ahead and watch it. I don't mind. No, you're not watching The Boys. Like, I'm not that bad of a father yet. Now, you go to your room and play with your...
Joe and I both thought that was going someplace dark.
I actually was going to say your Marilyn Manson dress-up kit, but I was like, that's not even that controversial.
So no, anyway. You should have went with his Marilyn Monroe dress-up kit.
And you go play lambs with your anyway. But anyway, no, my revelation. So this week's topic, which we should probably get to 10, 12 minutes into the show, but this week's topic is great movies that have a great cast that are terrible movies.
Yeah. These movies have what we call just stellar cast. What's the word I'm looking for?
I have no idea.
They're stellar cast, but they're in a utter piece of crap. I mean,
they're really in shitty movies. I mean, there's a ton of them out there. But some of them I didn't think were as bad. is what people said.
But here's my entire thing, and I'm going to say this up front. And so if you're going to tune out later, or if I'm going to offend you, let's go ahead and do it at the top. You know who I think wins the award for being, I think, in my opinion, an A-list cast member, but being in the most movies where I'm like, why did you agree to do this film?
What? Who?
Nicolas Cage?
No, hands down.
Ensemble is what I was looking for, by the way. They're
ensemble. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think that the actor that has been, and again, he's A-list to me. I think he's a phenomenal actor in so much that he does.
Stop
but man, he's in some terrible, terrible films. Robert De Niro.
Oh,
yeah,
God, yeah.
I think he is the poster child for I am a great A-list actor, but I have done some
especially
films.
in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, so many of them, and one or two may pop up later today in my conversation. But man,
so to give an example of this, was this one my idea? I think it was my idea.
Yeah, it was your idea because you were watching a movie. And
I'll say the movie unless was one of you all going to say that movie?
Nope.
Okay, so the obscure one I was talking about is really it is kind of obscure. Is Yellowbeard, and I never watched it. And if you don't, it's a movie from '83. This is the cast.
I mean, if you haven't heard of Yellowbeard,
this is just my example for everyone. This is actually not one of mine.
And before Joe lists the names, if you haven't seen Yellowbeard, when Joe lists this cast, it's how could this movie possibly go wrong?
So it has two generations of almost every great British comedian. It has
some non-British.
Yeah, well, I'll get there in a second. Graham Chapman, Peter Bull, Tommy Cheech and Chong were in this. Peter Cook, one of the great British comedians. Marty Feldman, another great one. Eric Idle, Madeline Kahn, James Mason, John Cleese, Kenneth Mars, great American actor. If you don't know who Kenny Mars is, he's the guy who's like the sheriff person in Young Frankenstein, the Nazi German guy. Spike Milligan. I could keep going on. I'm not going to. And you think this has to be the greatest movie. It has most of the Pythons in it. It's damn near unwatchable.
It has
it literally killed. Why did I forget his name? It literally killed Marty Feldman.
Yeah, it had a movie that should have been nonstop laughs, had one joke.
Yeah,
I mean, there's joke.
But that one joke goes on forever. I mean, it's 30 minutes of rape jokes.
Yeah. No,
I mean, there's 30 minutes of rape jokes.
It's 30 minutes of rape jokes. Yes. So the movie.
I still haven't finished it, boys. I still can't.
I've actually watched it twice.
Okay, well, you're more man than me when it comes to that. It is damn near insufferable. And boys, I have watched some shit, but it's not good. And I think what pisses me off even more is why.
Yeah, Joe, we know, Joe, by the way, we know you've watched Deep Rising at least 5 times. Yeah,
Deep Rising's better than this. I don't give I actually will argue with anybody. Deep Rising's better than this. Deep Rising's not boring. So anyway, back to what I was saying. It probably irritates me even more. And that's when I text them. It was like, there's a ton of these, or there's several of them, of some of these movies that have all-star casts that should be great, but that's not what happens all the time.
Yeah, and that's where Joe came up with the idea for this show. The first out of 170 whatever.
The first idea I've had in 150 some.
Just sit there
I would take criticism from someone who didn't produce or put it together or do a bunch of other things, but we'll let it alone and go right ahead.
Oh no, let's sit here and talk about how you wouldn't have anything to edit if these two didn't come up with things to put up.
I think I'd figure something out.
Sure you would.
Hold on, let me pull a Chevy Chase.
Again, Joe not giving credit to either one of the two people on this show other than himself.
Let me pull a Chevy Chase.
And now we're all going to suffer our 20 years of arguing.
Yes. Let me pull a Chevy Chase here and go ahead and do it. God, people out there listening to this, I hope you never have to know what it's like to work with half talents.
I knew he was going with that.
I love that line. I love that line because it's a burn.
Now that we got that. Chad, would you like to go first?
No, it's your show. You do everything. You go ahead with the first one, Joe.
You're absolutely right. I do most of it. So
I don't do nothing.
I don't do anything either. We come up with the shit to talk about, and Joe puts it together.
Right, Chad. So my first one is going to be the most recent one, and God, this is a musical. It's based on a Broadway musical,
Joe's going to talk about cats.
And the
James,
musical
next.
is still really famous and is still making money. But listen to this cast: Tom Cruise, Alec Baldwin, T.J. Miller, Bryan Cranston, Paul Giamatti, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Kevin Nash, and Russell Brand. And I didn't even know Eli Roth was in it. Has any of you all seen Rock of Ages?
Yeah,
Small town girl and a city boy meet on the sunshine.
It's a musical, so no.
Pursuing their Hollywood dreams, and it's 80s music.
Oh, man,
So
good Lord.
80s
No,
music.
Joe, ask a question and don't give us any time to answer. Go ahead.
Anyway, so have you seen it?
Nope.
Thank you,
No,
Jim. That was very helpful. James.
I have not seen it. Yeah, I'll be honest. And I remember when it came out, there's a lot of people, oh God. And it was the same thing. Some people had the same kickback with Tom Cruise being cast in that as they did Interview with a Vampire. And people were like, oh, he'll fool you. He'll turn it around. You'll be thinking that he should have been totally cast in that. And then I didn't see other people follow up on that argument.
I don't know that it's unwatchable, but it's damn near close. And I think the issue is that
because when it was coming out, they made a big stink about it. Like, oh, Tom Cruise is singing.
yeah, he's only in it maybe 20 minutes, and he's not the lead character.
Alec
It's
Baldwin
not
is the
his
lead, right?
fault. No, it's the two kids. I didn't even write their names down. They're two Instagram people. I don't even know who the fuck they are. But it just sucks. Oh God, I had a hard time. I don't think I ever actually finished it. I think I fast forwarded. And as much as I like Russell Brand, even though he's insufferable on chat shows, he can't save it either. Oh, what a shit show. What a shit show. It's Paul Giamatti and Eli Roth.
Paul Giamatti, for you kids listening, is that guy that you'll now remember for selling Volkswagens.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately, that's probably true.
Oh, God, that's depressing.
All right.
He's getting a paycheck. He ain't probably as depressed as I am when that money comes in.
Who's next?
James, go ahead.
You know, I'm going to start with one that I actually didn't think I would do until I sat down and I thought about it, and I'm like, no, I got to do this one. I'm just going to start with the cast. Chad, you'll probably be able to guess who this is, but it has a lot of talent in it, and it was actually based on something. Joe picked a Broadway. I'm going to pick something that's also based on a property that has quite a few fans out there, and it went horribly wrong, but I'll start from the bottom of the cast. Julia Jones, who I believe is in Westworld and was in the Twilight series and things like that. Wes Bentley, Michael Shannon, Tom Wopat, Will Arnett, Michael Fassbender, John Malkovich, Megan Fox, and Josh Brolin. I'm talking about Jonah Hex. Jonah Hex, if you're not aware of it, Jonah Hex is based on a comic book that's worse than Rock of Ages. Has a huge fan base. And I went to see Jonah Hex in theaters because I actually thought, Jonah Hex has been a traditional Western comic and it's been a paranormal comic. And I was like, I don't care which one they do.
It's also been science fiction because he time travels.
Riders of the Worms and such and all. Yes. And I was like, I don't care which one they do. You've got established stories to go back on, but I made the mistake of not remembering it's DC, and they're going to screw up the movie adaptation no matter how much I hope.
No, it's not DC. James, hold on. It's not DC. It's Warner Brothers.
But it's Warner, but they own DC. I mean, that's my entire thing. You could go down the proverbial corporate hallway and get the guy that's writing it right now and say, hey, what's going on in the comics? Do you want to look at the screen adaptation? But do you do that? No, let's not do that. But this movie has literally, it's got Tom Wopat. Tom Wopat.
I don't remember Tom Wopat.
I don't even remember him being in it, James.
He's a colonel. He's Colonel Slocum.
Honest to God, I have very little memory of the
All
movie.
I remember about that movie, seriously, is the fact that they couldn't come up with anything. And when you know that they had literally shot themselves into a corner, they cut to Jonah Hex riding through an empty field.
By the way, now my entire problem with not my entire that this film has so many problems, but I'm not going to trash Megan Fox, but they added that storyline just to have a woman in the film.
Yeah, that's not Megan Fox's fault.
It's not
What
Megan Fox's
happened
fault.
with that movie? So is there a better cut, or is it shit from the
No,
beginning?
Joe, that is the best cut you're going to get of that movie.
And it really is. So, and just FYI, it's written by is it Taylor and Neville Dine?
Yeah,
the writing partners. Yeah, and I like some of their movies. I enjoy Gamer. Gamer is not exactly, you know, Shakespeare or anything, but I enjoy it.
It's entertaining, at least.
You know, and they have done so. But I mean, God, what a horrible. But that cast is phenomenal. You've got John Malkovich and Michael Fassbender and Josh Brolin, all of who have made phenomenal films. This ain't one of them. So it's just a bad movie. And that's the thing. I watched it in theaters. You know the part I can remember? The Dreamland thing where they're fighting in the parallel whatever. I don't know anymore.
I know that I
literally don't remember anything.
I don't have any recollection of it other than I thought his makeup was piss poor. And John Malkovich is the villain, gets nothing to do, right?
Yeah,
I can't remember. I literally blocked it out of my mind because, like James, they were going to make a Jonah Hex movie. James Brolin was Jonah Hex. I waited months for this movie to come out, and then that's what we got.
And it's only about 70 some minutes, 80 minutes long.
Yeah, that and Green Lantern were probably two of the biggest disappointments in cinema history for me, where I was actually angry.
But I forgot Aiden
I remember
Quinn's
more
in
of the
it.
Green Lantern, though.
What, Joe?
I remember more of the Green Lantern. I will.
Well,
say
that's true.
A better movie.
I forgot actually Aiden Quinn's in it as well as Lance Reddick. It's got a great cast. They just are given nothing to do and no lines of dialogue that don't work. I mean, the lines just don't work.
Yeah, there's that movie. Yeah, it is a turd.
So, but I mean, if you saw the cast, and I'm with you had, they were Josh Brolin is Jonah Hex. That's pretty good casting. It does not come together. So, I love Crank. Please, Neville, Dine, and Taylor, don't come and hook a battery up to me.
I don't think they worked. Well, I don't think they work together much anymore, or at least they don't work side by side. They've all gone on to do their projects.
Yeah,
because the one did. I think it was Taylor did. I can't. Happy.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I just wanted to say, I mean, that's one movie, and I didn't even have it picked out for tonight. But I was just sitting there thinking, man, what a great cast with nothing to do for 78 minutes or so, whatever it is. So, yes, Jonah Hex is my first pick because, jeez.
All right.
So my first pick is a last minute addition because I actually scrapped this one for another one, and then I was like, no, I changed my mind at the last minute. I'm going to bring it up. So let me go over this cast. Okay, here we go. J.T. Walsh, one of the best character actors of all time. Phil Hartman. F. Murray Abraham.
F. Murray Abraham.
James Doohan and William Shatner. Tim Curry. Samuel L. Jackson. And Emilio Estevez.
I know what this is. I knew I was 90% sure when you said both James Doohan and William Shatner, but now.
Oh, I figured it out too. The
National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1.
All right. I don't remember it being that bad. In fact, it's got a couple of some funny scenes in it.
So let me talk about this. And this is why I made my list. When I was younger, when this came out in 1993, 94, I loved this movie. I thought it was hilarious. I watched it 3 months ago. It sucks.
But it's got that one line in it. I've got this hot, itchy feeling. Your damn foot's on fire.
It's not funny. It's literally the humor has not aged well. And most of the people in the movie, other than Tim Curry going, "Would you like to buy some cookies?" That's it. The movie has not held up. They had such great acting talent. They had William Shatner, who's, the John Gielgud of.
I just remember him eating the piranha.
Yeah, it's not a good movie. The cast could have done something really, really amazing with this film. And this was Samuel L. Jackson pre-Pulp Fiction. This was like kind of like his starring vehicle. And if they would have known the talent that Samuel L. Jackson had, I think this movie could have been slightly different. And
now, is this after Yes, They Deserve to Die, and I Hope They Burn in Hell?
No, this was actually Samuel L. Jackson had been in a lot of stuff pre-Loaded Weapon 1, but this was actually, to my knowledge, his first like starring vehicle. And they
his biggest role probably would have been Jurassic Park before that.
Was he in Jurassic Park before that? I couldn't remember which came first.
Came out in 91.
Okay, so he was in Jurassic Park and then this. But at the same time, they just didn't understand the talent that Samuel L. Jackson has, and they wasted it, and they focused more on Emilio Estevez doing the jokes. And I'm sorry, guys, it's just that movie could have been something that could have been really special, and they just blew it. Go ahead, Joe.
All right. So for my second one, I'm pulling it up here. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. This one, Roger Ebert hated this movie, testifying that it was the first movie I've seen that does not improve on the sight of a blank screen viewed for the same length of time.
I wish he would tell us what he really thought.
I know.
Well, we know it's not Spawn.
No. Michael J. Pollard, Gabriel Byrne, Jeff Goldblum, Ellen Barkin, Gregory Hines, Angie Everhart, Kyle MacLachlan, Billy Idol, Billy Drago, Richard Dreyfuss, Burt Reynolds, Paul Anka, Rob Reiner, Diane Lane, Joey Bishop, and Richard Pryor. Does anybody even know what I'm talking about? All right. We have
a cast.
So Joey Bishop was Rat Pack. For anybody on our audience who doesn't know, he's part of the Rat Pack. Is he the oldest one? Was he the oldest one? He had his own show in the 60s. He was a hip swinging cat. He had a son. The son's name was Larry Bishop. Larry Bishop went into acting and directing and writing, and he should have never done two of those things, those being directing and acting. This movie, he wrote and directed and was able to line up that whole cast. It is called Mad Dog Time. If you've never seen it, that's because it's awful. With his boss in the madhouse, a monster is temporary boss of the criminal empire, just as vicious rivals threaten the control of the empire. Now, it's supposed to be kind of a throwback, send-up mockumentary, not a mockumentary, but a mocking of a lot of the movies his dad made, like Ocean's 11. What is the thieves? Robin Hood and his Seven Thieves.
Robin and the Seven Hoods.
The Seven Hood. I'm so sorry, James. But I knew you'd correct me. I knew you'd know what I'm talking about. However, this movie does have a slight cult following. Some people do like it. I'm telling you, it's almost damn near incomprehensible with one of the best casts you've ever seen. Now, here's a little bit. Chad does a twofer from time to time. This is my twofer. I'll give you a twofer on this one. This wasn't the only time.
I've done a twofer once.
I'm sorry. Chad is.
No, actually, you've done it multiple. To Joe's defense.
I apologize. I'll make no more comments about Mr. Jennings.
No. To Joe's defense, actually, Chad, you've done it multiple times on Bonehead Shorts.
I've done it once.
No, you've done it on multiple episodes of Bonehead because you said. There's actually an episode where you say, as I have done multiple times, I'm going to do a twofer.
James,
I will go back to the tape.
You stabbed me in the heart.
So that's okay. I'll do a twofer. No one's done it on Bonehead before. I'll take credit.
Another thing that he's created.
Another thing for me. So there you go. Now, Larry Bishop did this one other time, and I'm so sorry. My computer kept crapping out right there. If you've ever seen the movie, that has two rival biker gangs, the Victors and the 666s, refuel their decades-old rivalry. It has David Carradine, Michael Madsen, Dennis Hopper, and Vinnie Jones. It's called Hellride. It also
I own it. Do not besmirch the name of
it's an
Hellride.
awful movie. It has some good lines in it, James, but it's an awful
It is
movie.
entertaining. Turn your brain off. Watch it.
It doesn't even have a comprehensible plot. Once again, Larry Bishop made another movie that you can damn near not follow. Although the Red Wings line, I quote quite often, and didn't know what that was other than hockey before I watched that movie. So he did teach me that. But Larry Bishop, that's two. So thank you.
I'll defend.
Never seen Mad Dog Time. I don't
Okay.
even know where you could find Mad Dog Time. I don't know if it's even streaming. I'm sure it is somewhere. Everything else is, but
I own Hellride on DVD, and it is. I don't mind it. Now, can I tell you what exactly the plot is? It's all about the rivalry, and there's really no good resolution. But Dennis Hopper pops up long enough to get that paycheck.
I didn't even remember Dennis Hopper was in it till actually it started with I want to pull this out. And I couldn't remember Mad Dog Time's title. I had to go. I knew Larry Bishop, and I had to go.
Mad
Google
Dog
him.
Time actually has a second title. It is called Trigger Happy.
Yeah, that's probably true.
No, it is. I'm reading it right here.
Thank you, Chad.
Yep.
So, who's next?
Is it me again?
Yes.
Or is it Chad? I don't know. I'll go ahead and go. I mentioned at the top,
Mad Dog Time is streaming on Tubi for free.
what's a value? I'll buy that for $1.
You don't even need $1. It's free.
I want to start with one because I mentioned Robert De Niro, and this is one where once again I looked at the cast and was like, this should have been something. And I'll be honest, I was like, have I ever seen this? And then I remembered I did see it, and
James,
I can't remember what.
Tubi took Mad Dog Time down.
There wasn't enough interest.
Is it said because I'd pay $1?
Did they have Hellride?
They heard you and immediately removed it.
Did they have Hellride though? Hellride was produced by Quentin Tarantino, or one of.
Yes, he was one of the producers.
James, I'm sorry, I agree with Joe. Hellride sucked, but go ahead.
And you know how hard that was for him, James. You know how hard that was for him.
Well, if any of you defend this movie, screw you, because I literally was like, I don't think I've ever seen it. And then I remembered I did see it, and it's just that forgettable. But as I did last time, I'll start with the cast, kind of bottom to the top. Christine Ebersole.
I don't know.
She has done a lot of television work, but she is in Wolf of Wall Street as well. Ben Barnes. Robin Williams.
Okay, you finally named somebody that someone's heard of.
Yeah, that was killing me there for a minute. Go ahead.
You don't know Ben Barnes?
No, who's Ben Barnes?
Ben Barnes is in a ton of things that you've probably seen. I'll go ahead and mention. He's Prince Caspian in the old Disney movies, but more recently to us, he's in Westworld. He was in the Punisher show on Netflix. He's been in a ton of different shows. I don't know how you don't know Ben Barnes, but okay, that's fine. Because I thought you all watched the Punisher show there. He's Billy Russo.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's Jigsaw. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right. I need to finish that second season. That's one I need to go back and do.
Anyway, Christine Ebersole, Ben Barnes, Robin Williams, Susan Sarandon, Topher Grace, Amanda Seyfried. Am I pronouncing that Seyfried? Diane Keaton, Katherine Heigl, and leading the cast, Robert De Niro.
Is this one of the Gary Marshall ones?
No. This is 2013's The Big Wedding.
I have never heard of this.
I saw it because I think it's one Dana rented.
Okay, so when I went to Google this, there were several different, because I like to do it. This is one of those times where I knew what I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to Google anyway. And there were several that I didn't agree with, but The Big Wedding was on a lot of lists.
Well,
I don't think I've ever seen it.
So The Big Wedding, I did see it. It's a romantic comedy, and the guy that wrote it and directed it also, I don't know if he directed, but he also wrote The Bucket List.
No, that would be Rob Reiner.
What?
Rob Reiner directed The Bucket List.
Okay, good. Well, he wrote The Bucket List.
Yeah.
And he, and then I guess that was a big enough hit He got to write The Big Wedding, and then he wrote One Chance in Second Act, 2018 second act. The Big Wedding, the plot to The Big Wedding is basically Robert De Niro is and I think Diane Keaton have a years earlier, but they're like their I think it's their daughter's wedding is dependent on them actually being happily married because the other family doesn't believe in it. I don't remember the plot. It doesn't make any sense because in the 1950s maybe it works, but who would be like, oh, I don't believe divorces exist. But anyway, they have to fake he's remarried to I think Susan Sarandon, and he has to fake being married back to Diane Keaton to make sure this wedding goes off. Robin Williams plays the priest that's going to do the wedding.
But
and
why?
There is nothing about this movie that really is funny or is engaging or anything, because when it popped up on some list, I was like, huh, that sounds vaguely familiar. And then I went and watched the trailer. I'm like, I did see this, and I didn't. It literally, very rarely, and I defend a lot of movies that aren't great, but I'll be like, well, they at least have a line or two. Literally, it took me seeing Robin Williams dressed as a priest in the trailer to go, oh, I remember that. I can't tell you anything about it. It's an absolutely forgettable film with a phenomenal cast.
Even the plot doesn't make sense. It raises more questions. Why do they've been long time divorced? Why do they need to pretend to be married?
It's evidently adapted from a French film.
Game show.
What?
I was just giving an excuse of why they would need to do that. So it's only for married people, and they know each other so well that it's like one of those older people where they get married. It's like, do you know each other? And it's, I don't know, we could come up with a really catchy title, right? And it's old people, and they see if they actually do know each other, and then they go on it, but they have to pretend they know each other because they hate each other so bad. And they have to pretend they know each other because they both need the money because one of them is something like that. You can't tell me that doesn't make a lot more sense.
But yeah, no, has a phenomenal cast. I mean, none of those casts have obviously been hindered by this film. But yeah, it's Corona.
Jamaica.
I want to take you to the.
But yeah, no, it's just a bad movie. I mean, if you want, I'll read the full plot.
No,
but
please, I'm good.
It's terrible, terrible film.
I will take your word on it and never watch it.
That made $46 million at the box office off a $35 million budget.
Even though neither one of us, three of us have never seen it.
I think though, Joe, to your point, I think we can blame this indirectly on Gary Marshall. Because Gary Marshall did all those ensemble films, and then everybody's like, oh, do an ensemble film. And
one list literally had anything Gary Marshall did with a holiday.
Well, I was about to say, and now in all fairness, Gary Marshall can blame Irv Allen. Because Irv Allen for a long
Irvin Allen.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, because Gary Marshall gave us a movie that premiered Taylor Swift as an actress, and then that led us to Cats. So Gary Marshall's just evil.
There was somebody talking about how much they love Cats on Facebook the other day, and it's come at me, bro. It doesn't suck. I was thinking of Chad.
Oh no, it sucks.
And then I thought of the person who wrote it. No, you need to watch it in black and white. That's it. It's the only way it makes sense.
By the way, I want to say for the record, my daughter. Now, keep in mind, when did that come out? She saw it in the theater
last year, James.
So she saw it last. Dude, I don't mean to sound like an internet meme, but 2020.
You've had a couple of days. Yes.
2020 has been a long year, dude. Anyway,
it has been.
But anyway, my daughter Amelia saw it and she loved it. Of course, she's a theater kid who loves musicals. So
and she's 6.
And yeah. Well, I mean, she's not 6. She would have been.
That's right.
Better than me, Homer. Was that what it said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I heard it. I can still hear. She was 9 at the time. She would have been 9, but yeah. She thoroughly enjoyed Cats. I am with the people though. I think if you're going to release a Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, I want the butthole cut of Cats because I didn't know that was legitimately a thing they went back and did to see how it would work. And in my mind, I hope that it was just somebody made an offhand comment, but they took them seriously and ran with it.
All right.
But I say if you did the work, put it out there.
I agree. If you're going to work on your butthole, put it out there for everyone to see. And with that, who's next? I've lost track.
All right. So my second pick is actually, I'm going to admit, I still like this movie. That being said, I know this movie is a piece of crap. But with the talent of this cast, I don't know how it went wrong. So I'm just going to go ahead and start naming them. Academy Award winner, Jeffrey Rush. Academy Award winner, Greg Kinnear. Eddie Izzard. Wes Studi.
Did he win an Academy Award? Was he just nominated?
Oh, I need to go back and look. I thought he won.
Yeah, I don't think. But yeah, that's fine. I know who you're talking. I know which movie you're talking about. Sorry.
Yeah. Claire Forlani, Wes Studi, Ben Stiller, Paul Rubens, Hank Azaria, William H. Macy, Mystery Men. That and Janine Garofalo. That movie should not have tanked. It should not be as a laughable joke that it is.
I don't think people even remember it now. I don't even know that it's a joke.
lot of people don't. It came out in 1999. In the age of comic book movies, it is forgotten. And for those of us who remember it, it's kind of a footnote. Except for me, I actually enjoy it, but I know it's a piece of crap. I was dying to see this movie just for the cast. And you would have thought the cast would have made this movie, and they just didn't. Something didn't click. The story's awful. The director, she was the first and only time director.
She's a music video director?
She was mostly music videos. And I know a huge portion of this movie, the big problem was Ben Stiller and her were at each other's throats, because Ben Stiller, as you know, is a very talented movie director in his own right. He has made some great
Tropic
films.
Thunder, yeah.
Tropic Thunder, Secret Life of Walter Mitty, The Cable Guy.
I've never seen the actual. I every time I go to watch it, I go, nah.
Yeah, honestly, it's visually it's great.
Yeah.
What movie now?
There, but people
The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Yeah, the remake.
Oh yeah.
But
They ain't got shit.
But there was a lot.
I read the original story of Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It's a story, right? They didn't make the movie first.
What?
No.
It's like Moby Dick. There's a book that's based.
There's a book based on that movie.
That doesn't happen. Michael Crichton doesn't really exist.
So he was the director and Ben Stiller didn't get along.
They didn't get along. Ben Stiller was constantly on top of her, wanting things to be done a certain way, and she had her own vision, and just everything about this movie collided into a big jumbled mess. So again, Mystery Men, it should have been better than what it was. It had an amazing cast and a talented cast. I mean, Hank Azaria alone.
He does a voice for that, right?
He's the Blue Raja.
Yeah.
So, so Mystery Men is my second pick. Joe, go ahead.
All right, this is my third and last pick, and this isn't as crazy as the other one, but I stand behind this, and hopefully I won't offend a lot of people. There's a lot of adaptations out there of many different novels. Most of them not so good, but there's some great ones. I assure you this is not one. Written and directed by the great Lawrence Kasdan. William Goldman actually wrote on this screenplay as well. Thomas Jane, Morgan Freeman, Jason Lee, Timothy Oliphant, Donnie Wahlberg, Tom Sizemore, and Damian Lewis. Now this is a completely forgettable horror film called Dreamcatcher, based on the Stephen King novel.
Oof.
Weasels.
Shit weasels, that's right. I actually was trying to remember the other day, because I think I've read most Stephen King novels and I own it. Did I actually read it, or did I disregard it completely after reading it? It was written right after his accident, and he said it's a little discombobulated, but I was trying to wrap my mind around. I knew Lawrence Kasdan. If you don't know who that is, he wrote Empire Strikes Back and Raiders of the Lost Ark, but he directed Silverado. The Big Chill. He's a very talented man. His son's very talented as well, Jake Kasdan. But how did this happen? He's one of the writers. William Goldman's one of the writers. So even if you don't like the book, how do you screw it up so much? But you're sitting there watching this train wreck unfold with all these great actors. And something like Timothy Oliphant, I don't even think anybody knew who he was at the time. He didn't blow up till later, right? Jason Lee at least had been in Mallrats and was something of an underground. Well, he was famous as a skateboarder before he became an actor. This movie, oh man, it's pretty bad. It was between this and one other. If we're going to be able to, can we do like our best of, or do I?
I've got a few bonus ones. So
I got one big bonus one. It was between this and another one, and I may have wished I went with the other one, but I'll talk about it afterwards. But yeah, Dreamcatcher, based on Stephen King novel. I love Stephen King, but I think this one, Chad, you were talking about. I was just talking about forgettable. No one talks about Dreamcatcher. In fact, if you're watching AMC, because they always bring the Stephen King out to play, whether that be, we've had Mick Garris on Riding the Bullet, which was made no money. I saw Riding the Bullet on Scare or whatever they called her a thing. I've never seen Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher, by the way, I own on DVD.
The Graveyard Shift, see that on there, and that's a shit turd movie. What'd you say, James?
I was going to say I own Dreamcatcher on DVD. You know why I own it on DVD? This is not a lie. I wanted to buy
some sort of bonus thing.
I wanted to buy The Shining on DVD, and it was a box set, 3 Stephen King movies. It was The Shining. What's the other one? It was another good one. I mean,
Warner Brothers. They're all from Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
sure they just
another really good one. And then it was like, oh, also that one. And it, by the way, the box set to buy The Shining by itself, and this was a few years ago, but like The Shining by itself was like $9.99 at Best Buy. The 3-pack with Dreamcatcher.
One. Was it? I don't know. Was it?
No, it wasn't it. It was a movie. It was Shawshank. It was Shawshank.
Shawshank. Yeah,
it was Shawshank, and literally the 3-pack with Dreamcatcher being one of the movies. For all 3 movies, widescreen, exactly the same as that individual for $9.99, was $7.99 for all 3 films. So I thought, I'll go ahead and get it.
Yeah. I mean, do either one of you remember anything about it?
I remember actually the best part of that movie is the best part of the movie is Morgan Freeman talking about the weasels.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And the problem is Damian Lewis has been taken over, his lead character in his head. And Damian Lewis was a great actor. Probably the first time I ever seen him. He wouldn't actually get famous from this movie. He'd get famous later on. But it's the first time I'd seen him. And a lot of it is him living in his mind castle. And I suppose you got to think that Stephen King was on drugs and he was going through all this stuff after the injury. But he's living his mind castle, and how that you do that visually, and they've got a friend who's not so smart and can telepathically communicate. It just gets convoluted and makes no sense. And in a book, you can kind of get away with a little bit talking about him living in his mind castle, but it doesn't work in a movie. And you would think William Goldman and Lawrence Kasdan, being the great screenwriters that they are, would have figured out a better way but it doesn't work at all.
Yep. That is me.
Let's see. Lawrence Kasdan did not write anything for almost 5 years. And then you know what he wrote after Dreamcatcher?
What?
Lego Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Brick.
Well, he talked about that there was 2 different movies that he could not get produced because of Dreamcatcher. It pretty much tanked his career as far as directing goes.
Yeah, I was gonna say his only feature outside of Dreamcatcher that he's written since Dreamcatcher is Solo, a Star Wars story, and then he did write November Road a couple of years ago. Yeah. So,
all right, who's up next, James?
I'll go. There's actually a couple, but I'm gonna go with one that again I thought the plot sounded cool, but the movie's completely forgettable. Some of the cast members include Keira Knightley, Naomi Harris, Helen Mirren, Michael Pena?
Yeah.
Kate Winslet, Edward Norton, and Will Smith. Collateral Beauty.
Yeah, that goes on a bunch of lists, but I don't remember it.
Never, ever seen it.
Okay, so the plot to it sounds really cool. Dude has a horrible, horrible tragedy, and what he starts to do is he can't deal with it, so he starts to write letters, and he addresses the letter to love because his thinking is, if I didn't love, this tragedy wouldn't hurt so bad. Time, because time takes people away, and death. And then he starts to get responses, and they're deeply personal responses. Somebody knows something. So it's not that, random people are just writing him letters back, pretending to be, they know stuff about
I
him.
may have watched it and fast forwarded through some of it.
And again, that cast is great. That storyline sounds great. The movie is just, I've seen it, but again, it's, you flip over. Back in the day when there were video stores, kids, we would flip over the back of a VHS or a DVD and read what it was about and decide if we wanted to rent it. And you read that plot, and it's like, oh, it could be supernatural. It could be great. We'll try it. It is not a highly regarded film. I think if you look at it on the critic score aggregator, it has a 14% approval rating. And basically, I think US Weekly actually has their review of it, and this is coming from US Weekly, is somewhere in a forest, a maple tree wants all its sap back. That's a pretty harsh review from US Weekly.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's great cast. I mean, Helen Mirren, Will Smith, Ed Norton, et cetera, et cetera. That's a great cast. Keira Knightley. That movie came out in 2016 and is utterly, if anybody, for all you diehard Collateral Beauty fans, send me all the hate mail you want, because I want to meet all four of you.
So what's funny is it's directed by David Frankel. He had a huge hit in 2006 with The Devil Wears Prada. And then right after that, he had another big hit with Marley and Me. But then after that, The Big Year.
Oh, I actually like The Big Year, but whoever decided to go ahead and say we're going to spend all this money on a movie about birding.
Yeah.
Have you all seen it?
I've tried sitting through it. I do not care for it.
I mean, it's not. It's actually, no. I liked it. It didn't even bother me. I enjoyed it. I like the characters in it. I don't know who decided to invest all that movie about three birders.
Yeah, and then he did The Big Year, and then granted, he did have a small rebound with Hope Springs, but then that was followed by One Chance, Collateral Beauty, and then he's been relegated to television. So yeah. David Frankel, not a solid track record there.
There you go.
And I've never seen Collateral Beauty. I could never make myself watch it. So I'm glad James did to tell us not to.
I kind of think I did, but I don't really any recollection of it.
By the way, I think a lot of people get it confused with 7 Pounds.
Yeah, maybe I watched 7 Pounds. And is that the one where he reaches out to the people who?
Yeah, he's kind of a mysterious figure, and he does.
Yeah,
and it's like what happened to him.
I'm gonna get confused with.
Yep.
All right. So my last pick is, again, it's one of those ones that actually pained me when I watched it because it was so boring. Because I had waited a long time for it to come out when I knew it was going to be written and released. So here's the cast. I'm going to start not starting small, but starting with the lesser known. Bob Balaban, Hugh Bonneville, John Goodman, Kate Blanchett, Bill Murray, Matt Damon, and George Clooney, the Monuments Men.
So that was on a lot of those lists too, but I wanted.
Oh, it was? I didn't even know.
Yeah, it was. It's on a lot of those lists, but I don't think it's that bad. I just don't think it's as good as the other shit that they've done.
It is boring. And I was like expecting so much more from that movie. And I feel like it's over 2 hours long. And honestly, nothing really happens. It's just them driving around Europe, obtaining these artifacts. There's really I don't feel like there's any kind of momentum there. And there's all this talent in that movie. And I feel like, honestly, a lot of the times they're phoning it in. It's directed by George Clooney, who is as much as I hate the fact that he's a good looking man, great actor. He's a very talented son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's a very talented person. No, I think it's the least of his films. I just didn't think. I don't know. Of all the movies that have like ensemble cast, that was on a lot of those lists, and that I was when I said earlier I didn't agree with some of those lists, and that's actually one of them. I couldn't think off the top of my head. That was one of them I didn't agree with. I was like, hell no, it's the least of a lot of theirs, but there's so many things that are so much worse. I didn't think it was that bad. I don't remember it being boring. I just remember being underwhelmed.
I watched it and I think it might have been the excitement of this movie because of the cast and the story and everything about it. And as soon as it was over, I'm like, huh. And then I never wanted to watch it again. So I was like, and of course it bombed. It honestly, in terms of Clooney's films, it's probably his lesser known film. It bombed. It kind of went away. Nobody talks about it anymore.
Well, it's his least film.
Yeah,
I completely agree with it. It's his least film.
So anyway, that's my last pick, The Monuments Men.
All right. So do you guys want to do at least a couple of honorable mentions?
I got a few.
I've got one. And I went back and forth, and I still don't know that I made the right decision. I almost replaced this with Dreamcatcher, but this one was directed by Harold Ramis. It starred Michael Cera, Oliver Platt, David Cross, Hank Azaria. By the way, Hank Azaria again. Jack Black, Olivia Wilde, Horatio Sands, Juno Temple, Vinnie Jones, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Bill Hader, Paul Rudd, and Harold Ramis. Year One.
Yeah, that movie's a piece of shit.
It's actually, I think it may be Harold Ramis's last.
I'm pretty sure it is his last film.
But it is awful.
Saw that in theaters.
I did. Oh my God. I don't remember anything in it being funny, but that cast, I just read it off. How could it not have been funny? And it was written, well, he was one of the many writers on it, produced by Judd Apatow. Man, Year One's a dog turd. That's another one that no one ever mentions, never comes up. It's completely forgotten film, which probably
it honestly should be. It's terrible.
It well deserves. Yeah. If you've never heard of Year One, Google it, look it up. I by no means recommend you watch it. It's about two cavemen or not. I don't know. No, they're right around the BC time because it's Year One and they meet all these religious. It's not funny. It shouldn't be.
It's caveman, but with actually people saying words.
Yeah, it's just not funny. Should have been. It's not. That's my honorable mention. James, do you have an?
I'll start with one because again, I think it's a great cast, and I remember it came out in theaters and immediately got slammed. I don't remember what came out against it, but literally, there was actually a thing. Did anybody actually bother to go see this movie? It's got a great cast. But I'll read the cast and I'll tell you the name of the movie and I'll just read one review from it. The cast of note include Toby Jones, Val Kilmer, J.K. Simmons, Charlotte Gainsborough, Michael Fassbender again, who is competing with Robert De Niro for that title.
Oh man, he really is.
I refer to 2017's The Snowman.
I saw it.
Oh Lord, I wanted to see that. I just want to see how bad it is.
Okay. So there's.
I know, Joe, you actually kind of like it.
It was just not as bad as people said. His name is like Butthole or something.
No, it's Harry Hole.
Harry Hole.
Not to be confused with Squat Hole.
Squat Hole. Yeah, it just wasn't as. It's not good. It's just not as bad. It was also on that, and then the one direct. So he's in another one, Michael Fassbender, that a lot of people hate too. Is the one that was directed by Ridley Scott with Cameron Diaz, and what's his face? Who's the villain in No Country for Old Men? Harvey Fard.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of it too. That people just ripped on. It's written by the guy that wrote. Oh shit! It was his only screenplay. James. He wrote Where the People Are on the Road. The Road. Cormac McCarthy. Written by Cormac McCarthy. That's another one that's on a lot of people's list of movies they hate, which it's not good, but it's an interesting, little bizarre movie.
Well, I said I'd give the review. The Atlantic did this review. The overall critic score is 8% for this film. Yeah. Here's the Atlantic's review. In this soul-deadening freeze, who wouldn't seek solace in a bottle or in the physical warmth of a lover's arms or in mass murder? Those are their review. I love that review. I had to do it for no other reason than to get to say that review.
We've shit on so many movies, but that's one that I just didn't think was as. It's not good. Does that make sense to you all? It's just not as bad as what I thought people were saying.
You know,
Would
I
recommend
defend
it.
I defend The Barber with Malcolm McDowell along those same lines. So I mean, it's the Barber, which nobody has seen, isn't
I
a
haven't.
great film. I own it on DVD. I got it actually. Remember, there used to be, what was the big rival to Blockbuster that went out of business first? Was it
Hollywood Video?
Video. Yeah.
Hollywood Video, when I think it was in Louisville. I may have been visiting you, Chad, and I saw they had their going out of business sign.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
And I pulled in, and they had like a stack of movies. Like you could get, I think the most expensive they had was $3. So most things were picked over. But they had Malcolm McDowell in The Barber, and the plot to The Barber is he's a barber in this Alaskan town in northern Alaska, and every time when it's dark for more than 48 hours in a row, he just goes out and kills somebody and drags them out and buries them in the snow. That's the plot to The Barber, but it's Malcolm McDowell doing it, and it's just a lot of fun. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. My first one's really on the nose, and that's why I didn't talk about it. I almost did. The Wild Wild West. Let's
Yo Bang Bang.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh, Will Smith, Ted Levine, and then of course the amazing Kevin Kline.
Yeah, that movie's bad, but that's also another one. I'm sitting here going, is it as bad as people say? Probably.
Yes, it really is that bad. If you haven't watched it, Joe, go check it out. It's terrible.
I just haven't seen it in a long time.
You should watch it again. It's not good. The Rainmaker. We could talk about the cast on that one.
That one's just boring.
It's boring.
Yeah.
It is insufferable.
That's Matt Damon's, right?
Matt Damon, Danny DeVito, Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's boring.
And then, of course, I had to bring this one up. Ralph Fiennes, John C. Reilly, Will Ferrell, Holmes and Watson.
Oh, no. That is the worst piece of shit anybody's talked about tonight. That may be worse than Yellowbeard.
Yeah,
Have you seen
none
it?
of us. Yes.
I saw that in the theater because I was crippled, and that's what we could go see, and that's what was playing. And I've never forgiven myself.
That I watched it here at home, and I don't know how I sat through it. The funniest part is when they go on cocaine. That was it. And it's not even that funny.
I don't even remember. All I remember is that stupid onion scene that made no sense. Oh, it's awful.
And I only listed the top 3. That movie, that has a great cast. And that movie is unwatchable, people.
It has House in it, and they didn't even use him.
Yeah.
I want to do one more shout out.
Oh God, I thought James was getting ready to
No, I want to do one more movie shout out because I was trying to, and I blanked on the title, and I shouldn't have, because it's a movie that we've alluded to.
I know you didn't say it, but shut up. I know you said shout out, but it sounded like shut up. So no, you shut up.
I know we've alluded to it before, and it's actually like the director. I like some of his other stuff, but I just want to read the cast and point out that nobody, even if you're a big fan of people in this cast, you probably don't rant and rave about how great this movie is. Here's some of the cast. I'll go through it relatively quickly. Eli Roth. Let's see. Justin Timberlake, Kevin Smith, Wallace Shawn, Sean William Scott, Will Sasso,
Maybe
Miranda Richardson, Amy Poehler, Sherry O'Terry, Mandy Moore, John Lovitz, Bai Ling, John Larroquette, Christopher Lambert, Dwayne Johnson, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Janine Garofalo, Curtis Armstrong. Because
I've forgotten half these people were in this movie.
I'm a pimp.
I forgot half of them too, but you'll never forget the famous line.
Don't commit suicide.
One more time, James. I'm sorry I talked over you.
I'm a pimp, and pimps don't commit suicide. I'm talking about Southland Tales.
He gave us that, and then that didn't quite work out. But I will give him credit. That's his movie.
Well, no, and
some of the movies we talked about tonight are just shit. But that's
I was going to say,
he had a distinct vision for that.
And what vision was that? No one knows.
May not have been America's vision. And then the next was The Box, and then
Box.
Whatever happened to him, that's just boring, unfortunately. But whatever.
Well, he did another movie that had a great cast that just didn't come together. And I mean, I've heard the production of it was riddled with issues because he did, and that movie had Dabney Coleman, Macy Gray, Monique, Delroy Lindo, Mickey Rourke.
I'd have to look it up. He wrote, now, are you talking about Domino? That was actually, he wrote it. It was directed by
Tony Scott.
Tony Scott. Never forget. But yeah,
he has not done anything since The Box.
Yeah,
which I have The Box.
Richard, what's his name?
Richard Kelly.
Richard Kelly.
I have The Box. You want to know how I got it? See, I was there with my friend Chad when Hollywood Video was in The Box. And actually, you can see I can see it because I've got them alphabetically on the shelf over here, and I can see the Hollywood sticker video on the base of it still.
It's based on a short story by Ray Bradbury called Button Button, right?
Yes.
Okay. But if you don't know who Richard Kelly is and why we're talking about him, he got really famous for making another really unusual film with a distinct, that was actually a flop. People don't remember. It did nothing. It was later.
I love it. I do love it. It's
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko is a film that, I mean, I enjoy.
It also has a really good cast.
Yes. You got both Gyllenhaals in there.
Yeah.
And plus the advice that you can suck a certain thing. Well, how do you do that? I don't know. Just do it.
Man.
Yeah, Southland Tales. And I think the problem with Southland Tales, other than its bizarre film, is that isn't it almost 2.5 hours long?
It's long. And that's
all sit there and watch it, and we didn't know it was going to end.
I wanted to do it as an honorable mention because it's not that the movie is terrible.
No,
it's just that it's not a movie like if somebody said, "Oh, I want to watch a comedy," I can't say Southland Tales. I want to watch an action film. I can't say Southland Tales. Like, when do you recommend that movie? Hey, I want to drop some acid and just see what happens. I'm going to tell you a movie to put on in the background.
Well, I don't even know. So I've gotten crap from someone. I won't give him crap back, but I'm saying about that's not even an experience. I don't even know that Southland Tales is an experience like 2001 or something like that.
It's not.
That's not an experience.
At least 2001 you can watch once.
Eraserhead is probably I think that's a little less of experience. I actually think it's on the nose about parenting and whatnot, and about relationship commitments,
and about having large piles of dirt on the dresser.
Well, and real quick, for those that have never seen Southland Tales, and if you're thinking you might want to try it just based on the fact we're saying it's such a weird thing.
It stars The Rock.
Yeah, it was one of his
first. No one talked about it.
It's one of his first big, it was one of his because he's credited as The Rock in it. He's not credited as Dwayne Johnson. It's The Rock. Yeah. And with Sean William Scott, when Sean William Scott was still huge at this time. That being said, I'll read the actual summary of the movie. And I have to read it because I don't remember this being the summary of the movie. During a 3-day heat wave just before a huge 4th of July celebration, an action star stricken with amnesia meets up with a porn star who is developing her own reality TV project and a policeman who holds the key to a vast conspiracy.
Yeah, but that's not at all what Southland Tales is about.
No. I mean,
I felt the need to put Kevin Smith and all that makeup and that garb, right? So you wouldn't even know who he was. I'm sorry. Yeah, Southland Tales. I'll give him credit at a vision.
Well, no, and I said I don't hate it. I just can't tell you when you should watch it.
And I can't tell you that you ever should. Yeah. All right. Any more, gentlemen?
That's it for me.
All right, then.
I could do more, but I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. All right. Well, this has been Bonehead Weekly. Check out some of these movies. Actually, is there one of these you want them to watch?
Mystery Men.
Mystery Men, you got to remember, was a big deal when it came out. It had a pretty good push for it. It had that hey, now you're an all-star band doing that something.
Oh my, that would be Smash Mouth.
I know. I just want to see if I can.
Oh my God.
What happened? But it had some pretty good push for it when it came out. And I'm with you, Chad. It's not a movie that I watch often, but it's not a terrible, terrible, terrible movie in its entirety.
It's very. No. I probably will give you all credit on this one. It's probably the one that's not just very uneven. I don't know that you talk about like there's one person with a vision. That movie probably lacks that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little uneven. It's a little too comedy or not enough comedy. It's
Well, and I think the problem is, I mean, and let me go ahead and throw out the word gestalt here. I think the gestalt of what it was based on gets lost in the film.
Man.
All right, the Mystery Men comic books give those characters a little bit more of a backstory than the movie gives them.
And they didn't have the flaming carrot.
Yeah. All I can think about is, what is it, Mr. Furious?
Yes.
And isn't the only background he's given in the movie about why he's Mr. Furious is he was once locked in a hot car for too long?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah.
And there's much more to his backstory in the comic, but
yeah. All right. That's been Bonehead Weekly. Thank you all so much. I would tell you what's coming next week, but I literally have no idea where this one will even drop.